Hello boys and girls. Well, this is the episode on my TC2 Taunus estate, which is like a left-hand drive Mark IV Cortina. I bought it about 5-6 years ago in Portugal for €250. It's a very, very rare car. One for the colour. There are a few Mark IV Cortinas and Taunus TC2s in this Medina green, but not many, and I've certainly never seen an estate in this colour. It was pretty banged about when I bought it. I think I paid €250, I think, something like that. But it wasn't very rusty, which is good. I think it originally is a French car, maybe, or a lot of the Taunuses they have over here were imported. So yeah, it's had wings. I think we changed one of the doors. I went on its side. A few repairs on the floor, and front panel. And I think we repaired the tailgate at the bottom, usual. Yeah, but all in all, not too bad condition. It's not done to like show standard, even, well, some people say it is, but yeah. So it's sort of used fairly regularly in dry weather, because I hate cutting rust out of cars. Green interior, 2 litre 5-speed, Capri gear seats, trimmed by my thingy. Green interior, so if you don't like green, you're a bit buggered, but you know, there we go. It's got the Taunus gear wheels, or S wheels on it, which I have got some steels that I'm doing at the moment, which will be in a later episode that we're flipping. So yeah, so there you have it. The Taunus TC2 estate in Medina Green. Now it's all been put back together about 6 to 8 months, probably a little bit longer. We have got a couple of issues with it. You see the stance of it sits very low at the front. Now I didn't use too many new parts, well, what I could get within reason. So we've had like new rear shocks and all new poly bushes all the way around, but I think the front springs are sagged by the looks of it, because it didn't quite sit right. If you have a look at the other Taunuses I have over here, they all tend to sit up a little bit more sensibly. So one of the jobs will be, not today, not for this episode, but for a later episode, will be to make the thing sit right. Now I have got a set of low mileage, hopefully good springs, just like these. But the job for today is to sort the auto choke out. It's got a brand new carburetor on it, but the auto choke doesn't seem to be engaging. Now a lot of people get funny about Webers and auto chokes. There's nothing wrong with automatic choke, they're fantastic. You know, if you want a manual choke, go and buy an MGB. You know, if you want to drive a decent car, then, you know, sort your auto choke out. So what I'll do is I'll get the air cleaner off, and then I'll come back to you and we'll go and I'll point out the problems and we'll show you how to rectify it. Okay, so the air filter's off it. Now there's a couple of things that can stop the auto choke engaging or sticking on. Now obviously this is the auto choke unit here. Water passes through it and it's got some magic inside it which closes the flaps when it's some sort of spring and stuff, you know. It closes the flaps when the car's cold. As it warms up, I guess the tension on the spring is released via said magic, and then the flaps open, allowing it to run at what it should do, CO wise, not so rich, not so much air, so as you can see here, this car is cold, so I haven't run it for a while, and the chokes, there you go, they were stuck and now they're not. So this is what's happening. So the automatic choke is not engaging. So need to do is, this is difficult one-handed and holding the phone. Why don't you use a GoPro, they say. There you go. Right, that's example. It's sticking again. And normally, when you get into a car with one of these Weber carburetors with a automatic choke, 2 pumps on the throttle or 3 pumps on the throttle, and these would normally flip back. But as we can see, that's not happening now, which is, as I said, the automatic choke isn't engaging. So there are a few things that can cause this, which I think the problem we have with this one is the easiest solution. Now these flaps, if they're not aligned correctly, when they hit the bottom there, the very max out, they will stick. Because if you imagine when they're flat like that, they're lined up, but when they move to the bottom, if they're slightly to one side, so if they're slightly to one side, if you imagine when it goes down, it's closer to the wall of the carburetor, if you like, or the barrel of the carburetor, so it will stick. So that's one cause of it, which I think this is, and we'll find out shortly. The other is there's a problem. There's a plastic gasket in there that goes between the choke housing and the other part of the choke mechanism. More magic going on in there. If that gasket isn't there, or if there's a pin which the spring locates onto, and I'll just go and get you one to show you. So this is the another carburetor, an old carburetor. I can't remember, it's a 38 or a 34D gas. This is the housing. Now, as you can see, that spring there with a circle on the end, that locates onto this part, which is that part, and it's got this pin, if you can see it, that pin. Now sometimes with some of the aftermarket housings as well, the pin will foul, so it'll touch the back of the housing, which stops it moving, because if you imagine, it's tightening up onto there, yeah, so the pin is touching the back of the housings, not moving. But that's I don't think that's what the problem is with this one. I might be wrong. We'll find out as we go along. And as I said, there's a plastic gasket which goes in between this part and here, yeah. So that needs to be fitted, and also there are different types of housings as well, because if you look at the two types, there are two different types of Weber carbs. Well, there are many different types of these type Weber carbs, like 38D gas, 32, 36, 32, 34, or whatever it is, and then a 34D gas. There's a few different types depending on what they were fitted to over the years. But as for these top housings, yeah, this, as you imagine, the pin that comes up to operate the valves from the choke mechanism, it's different because it goes the other way on these. So yeah, you've got two different types, so you have to look out for that as well. Certainly if you're having a carburetor rebuild, I don't recommend rebuilding carburetors, if I'm honest, because you can buy them for about £250, which is nothing really. If you had to buy a set of injectors for a modern car, they'd probably be close to £250 each. Your classic is worth more than the average modern car, so go and buy a new carburetor, do yourself a favour. By the time you've spent £100 getting it rebuilt and then it doesn't work, and the hassle of putting it back on and off and all this, it really is false economy. So the first thing I want to do with this carburetor to try and rectify this problem is align these flaps, which I'm pretty sure that's the problem. Okay, and I'm looking at it, as you can see, I don't know if you can see from there, but this side here, there, appears to be very close to the edge of the carburetor, the wall of the carburetor, the choke housing, which I think when it's pushed down like that, it's just catching on the very end. It doesn't happen all the time, but most of the time. So what we're going to do, yeah, if there's more of a gap this side, than there is that side. So I think it just needs aligning a bit better, hopefully, he says. Now the way to do this is you've got these two grub screws here. Now be very careful when taking these in and out, because they all they want to ever do is cross thread, and it's a real arse. So just slacken them off a little bit, just turn maybe, try and make sure you've got the right screwdriver, unlike the one I've got, so you don't screw the heads up. Okay. Yeah, I better go and get the right screwdriver, really. Or should I just try and continue with this one? Well, let's continue with this one, see if I can properly break it. Right, now I've got to go and get the right screwdriver. So yes, apparently using the right screwdriver affects it quite dramatically, and yes, they've both been turn them out, something like this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to push it down and see. Yeah, as you can see, there is a bit of movement in that. Okay, which allows us to line it up. I mean, you would have thought they'd have checked it from the factory, but you know, there you go, that's people. Now, yeah, I can make this wedge up by pulling it across like that, which I think that's the problem. So this needs to be more square, yeah, aligned better. So if I move it across a bit, yeah, there you go. So I'm pretty sure that's the problem, but obviously we shall see as time goes on. Yeah, and there's more of it. I mean, you can't quite see in the light. There's more of a gap there now, which I think that's where it was fouling. So let's tighten these back up. Don't over tighten them, they only need to be nipped. Obviously you don't want them falling out and going down the carburetor, because that would be not good at all. But you don't want to over tighten them, because they love to strip, cross threads, just, you know, and you have to put a self tapper in. Well, probably not a good idea, but you know, you get the idea. So let's what I'm going to do, I'm just going to wedge open this. I'll come back to you in a minute when I've wedged open the throttle, so we can see if it's functioning properly. Okay, so I've wedged open the throttle with a screwdriver, just to help the automatic choke. We're going to have a look, see if this has actually rectified it, and no, it hasn't. So that would suggest it's better. I can't fit, there's less resistance, so I'm wondering if either it's there. Right, what I'm going to do is spend a couple of minutes lining these up. So it's just a matter of undoing these screws, lining the flaps up so that they fix, so that they function properly, because it's wedging up on the sides here or the sides there, depending on how they're mislined. So I'll come back to you in a minute when I've spent 5 minutes lining up these choke flaps, and hopefully, with any luck, we might be able to have a functioning auto choke. Okay, so I spent 5 minutes trying to line that the other flap up, and to no avail. So I've taken it right out, and the edges of it weren't particularly machined very well, shall we say. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to show you, look, that is no sticking on that one at all. So that one's obviously, so the fault must have been with this choke, which is fine. So what I've done, just taken the flap out, carefully not losing the screws under there somewhere, and I've just taken a bit of emery cloth or sandpaper or whatever. Wouldn't recommend using a grinder, that's probably a bit much, and I've just taken the sides down. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop that back in and see if we have any success with that. Okay, so we've got the car started, and the choke is engaged, as you can hear, and you can just see from in there, if we can get a close up on that, that the screw is touching the part of the choke mechanism which is regulated by this. So we've got choke on, it's on about 1000 revs, I think. maybe 1200. Just give it a, yeah, that's pretty good. Maybe a little higher. Let's see, let me just take it up a little bit. Just a screw, half a turn, quarter of a turn. Don't ever get the screwdriver in there. Yeah, that's it. Just taking it up a little bit. That's a bit. Yeah, that's about right. That's even the running out a little bit as well for when it's cold. We'll just continue with it. Let it warm up and make sure that the choke is acting the way we want it to. So depending on the ambient temperature and stuff, those chokes don't always close all the way. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. But if they're stuck totally like that, it stops the choke engaging. So we'll just give it a couple of minutes to warm up, and I'll get back to you. So the car's been running for a couple of minutes. Starting to warm up a little bit. It's quite warm here today anyway, 20 degrees. But yeah, just the last stage, it's about 2 or 3 stages as the cam on the actuator for the choke moves back as this warms up. And just give it a quick flick. There you go. Works perfectly. So that's the choke off now. Back to normal RPM. Normal tick over. So yeah, so that's pretty much how to set up and rectify problems with an automatic choke. Until next time, thanks again.
Thanks for watching Mangusto Garage. Please like, subscribe and tune in for more episodes. See you next time.